Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me. Hello and happy Tuesday. It's beautiful outside. I'm laughing because Autumn was like, okay, it's ready to go out. It's time to go outside, right? And I started talking and she was like, all right, I guess she's going to talk to her little box again. So she went and laid down. I wanted to talk today about some of that recovery advice that we get. That is like, okay, well, you need, Rachel, you need to listen to your body. You need to rest. Rachel, be patient. Just accept where you are. Easier said than done. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Um, some of the most simple or simplest advice that we receive seems to be the most difficult or hardest to actually carry out. Um, so like living inside every day, every minute of every day, living inside your limitations, your fatigue, your pain, um, your grief, your fear, like you name it, whatever it is that you're recovering from, living inside of that to me is like this constant negotiation that I am having with my body. And so any advice that I get is just like I almost want to laugh and be like, you don't get it, you know? I try to rest when I need to, and I try to accept my limitations. I try not to compare myself to others. I try to ask for help when I need help. I try to be patient. I try to be grateful, but it's hard. It's not easy to do these simple things. The easier it is to say, the harder it is to do. So, I think that as I try to negotiate each of these things, it's like there is this acceptance that has to happen constantly. Um, I do need to listen to my body, but when I'm listening to my body, there's also a part of me. It's not that easy, right? I'm listening to my body, but I have this desire to have fun or do something else other than what my body is telling me to do. Um, when I'm out for a walk with Autumn, my body is telling me stop looking around at houses, stop watching Autumn move because all of these things bother me to the point where I'm just not even enjoying the walk. But yet, I want to walk faster. Like, my brain is saying, I wonder what those neighbors do in their garden. And I can do that in my garden because I'm so used to doing that. I've done that for the first half of my life. So, slowing down, listening to my body is not something that is automatic. It's learned. Um, Throughout my life, I've always tried to push through everything. I've always been told to push through. It's like what we learn to push through. Um, and now it's like, okay, now Rachel, you just focus on what you can do. Give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself. Take everything 1 minute at a time. One day at a time is something that I've been learning in sobriety, but it has been 10 years of me trying to live one day at a time. So it takes practice. And I'm constantly needing to remind myself that you've only been doing this for 4 years, Rachel. And I actually think back to 4 years of sobriety. How hard was it? How hard was practicing the all the principles in my daily life at 4 years sober? And comparing that, because I like to compare my recovery journey from stroke with my recovery journey from alcoholism, because it's just constantly mirroring itself. So that's why I talk about it all the time. But I was so 4 years into sobriety, I could still pretty clearly remember what I used to be like. And I still romanced my old life. My instincts still pushed me towards the drink, or not push me towards the drink, but pushed me towards the environment that the drink was in. So there was a lot of self-talk there at 4 years. So looking at stroke recovery with a vestibular disorder, I need to give myself grace at 4 years. You know, I still remember clearly what it was like to be able to walk down the street and look wherever the heck I wanted to look, or wake up in the morning and plan for it's going to be really nice today. What would I want to do in my old life? Well, that's the self-talk. Um, let's not focus on what you would have done in your old life. Let's focus on what you want to do today in this life. Um, train my instincts to not try to prove myself that I can do this or that, but instead to stop thinking about what I want my reality to look like, and understand what my reality is. And that's where the struggle can transform into active, joyful living. Is if I'm accepting, like I was talking about yesterday, about if I'm accepting the cards that are dealt to me, and I'm surrendering to that which I cannot change, then I'm releasing that. I've talked a lot lately about grasping onto my own fists, fists. That was a lot of S's. Fists. Oh my gosh, let's try it again. I talk a lot about grasping onto my own fists, and yet I'm squeezing, and yet I'm not changing anything. You know, I'm only changing my inner resistance by doing this. I'm not holding on to anything. I'm not changing anything. So, releasing that, by accepting. But acceptance, like it sounds really peaceful and lovely, but inside it can feel like resistance. It can feel like water flowing through a funnel, like it's just like a little bit at a time, a little bit of acceptance at a time, because acceptance, to get to the point of acceptance, we often have to move through grief, move through surrender. I talked about yesterday, like what comes first? Is it the surrender, or is it a little both? Sorry if you hear my dog barking. Um, And we have to move through loss. We have to move through fear and uncertainty that life is never going to be the same as it was. And that was really difficult for me in both cases, in sobriety and in stroke recovery. Um, I have a tendency to want to not give up on who I used to be. I don't like what happened. Pretending it doesn't hurt, whether it's hurting me emotionally or physically in whatever case of recovery, but pretending that it doesn't hurt and I'm avoiding telling the truth. And the truth is acceptance. If I can wake up every morning and look in the mirror and say, you are a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. That's what I do. I wake up in the morning and this goes through my head. And before I go to bed, I get down on my knees and I'm grateful for my sobriety, for the willingness to recover from things, from these hard things. So stopping the fight and giving myself the gift of like a breath, like taking a breath without feeling like I'm pushing something, you know? Um, it doesn't happen all at once. And I think that easier said than done thing is because when we say something like listen to your body, it makes it seem like it's one and done, you know, that that we just say, okay, Rachel, whenever you're in pain, you need to get in bed. That's it. Like listening to my body before my stroke was never that complicated. It was more like when you're tired, you sit down. But today I was just telling, I don't know, who was I talking to that I was like, fatigue. Yeah, I was telling my son. Um, I said, I still struggle with what part of me, like when I'm experiencing fatigue, is it laziness or fatigue? So, for example, last night I didn't go to my in-person AA meeting because I didn't feel like it. Um, and if I really like sit and diagnose like what part of me, this is where the complicated part comes in. It's harder to understand. My body is harder to understand because my symptoms change so quickly and I second guess myself and I want to override what my body is telling me. But I was sitting like, what part of me doesn't want to go to AA? Is it because I don't feel good? Is it because I'm tired? Is it because I'm lazy? Like tired and lazy feels a little similar to me. Um, and I thought, so, well, let me look at it this way. If it wasn't AA, let's say instead of 7 p.m. AA tonight, what if it was getting to go out to dinner to your favorite restaurant with your favorite person in the whole world? Then would you want to go? And the answer was no. The answer was no, I wouldn't want to go. That's what told me that I needed to not go to AA. That's how I'm able to listen to my body. Um, if I feel good, I always want to do the thing. Um, that's what I realized yesterday. Um, when I don't want to do something, my body is telling me no. Um, And I'm so not used to that because I'm like a busybody and I'm a very um energetic person to a fault sometimes that I almost don't want to believe that I don't want to do it. Like I can't even believe it. So listening to my body is not like a passive kind of thing. It takes a constant um, act of trust and humility, a little bit of humility, you know? Um, so telling myself I need to rest, sometimes I feel guilty about it. Again, I feel lazy. Yesterday, I laid down at about 3 o'clock and I thought, I just don't feel like doing anything. I really wanted to paint yesterday. I didn't paint. I have that same desire to paint today. And when I decide I'm not going to paint, I'm going to lay down, I feel lazy. I feel like life is passing me by. I feel like if I stop and I lay down, I'm losing momentum in recovery. You know, like rest in recovery is not, um, it's not passive, I think is the word I want to use. It's an action. Rest in recovery is an action. And this is one of the hardest lessons that I've needed to learn, but I think I'm getting there. I'm so much further than I used to be. Um, Resting in stroke recovery is productive. It's weird, but it is productive. Um, I can't compare myself to people who have a full-time job. If I'm doing that, there's a reason why I don't have a full-time job because I am not like I used to be. So when I start to do that, when I think about my friend, she's working 8-hour days. Um, I feel like I should be able to do that. But that's what healthy people can do. What I thought my life should look like now is different than what it used to be. Like, instead, if I'm comparing myself to other people, then I am missing gratitude. I'm missing the correct perspective and I'm stealing peace from myself. So comparing myself is really putting me right back into the grieving process. And I don't want to be in there, you know? It's uncomfortable. And I've got the tools that I need to stay out of grief. It's when we were just talking about this morning, something similar this morning in my sobriety meeting, that even without drinking, I can construct these walls around me. So I need to try to focus on what I can do. And that's hard when I keep defaulting back to missing what I've lost. But I can still build a meaningful life. And so this focus on what you can do, easier said than done, is because every day I need to do it. It's not like it's one and done. All of these things, they're not one and done. Focus on what you can do. I need to do that on a daily basis. I need to do that on a hourly basis. Focus on what I can do. Being patient with myself. This is constant. This isn't, okay, Rachel, you need to be patient today. Or this year, let's try to be a little more patient. It's not a New Year's resolution. Focus on what you can do. Be patient. Ask for help. All of these things are an ongoing process. Um, I need to be patient every time I'm in pain, every time I'm exhausted, every time I'm romancing what my life used to be like. Um, I need to ask for help every time I face something that I just can't do. I need to give myself grace every time I start having some negative self-talk. Um, so these easier said than done phrases in recovery, um, the point is to live in the present. Bring that advice to the present moment. And and I think the real practice is and the habit is to keep that in my pocket at all times. You know, be compassionate towards myself and and own up to when these things are hard. Um, own up to like maybe nothing's wrong. Maybe I feel generally speaking fine, but I don't want to go to my sobriety meeting. That's okay. Um, it's it's hard. Recovery is hard because it's hard. Like needing time and practice and support and repetition is it can feel like I'm constantly climbing uphill um, when I don't do it perfectly because I'm a perfectionist. I didn't know that, but I think I am. You guys might know that after listening to me. It's harder to see other people's struggles than it is to see our own. But it's more, it's easier for me to see the truth when I take time to look at it. When I just like hear advice, I have a way of being like, you don't understand, and that can be frustrating instead of healing. But if I pause, I was talking about pausing yesterday, pause is huge. When I pause and I think about the advice and I think about how can I practice it on a daily basis, I can respond with, yes, that's true. This is harder for me than people may realize. And easier said than done sometimes can be like an excuse to just turn your back on the advice. But it's really, it's an honest reflection about what recovery is like. And it's a daily practice. All of these things that sound simple when they fall out of somebody's mouth, they're anything but simple. We have to try again and again and pause again and again, accept, rest, begin again and again. And that's where the work is. It's hard, it's hard, or it wouldn't be called recovery. It wouldn't be something that we're trying to live in. We would be recovered if it wasn't hard. So that's what I've got today. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoy your day, and I will talk to you next time.